Ready? Today our goal is to review some complementary angles and supplementary angles and vertical angles. Now these are pretty important words or ideas that I would really like you to recognize, especially when it comes to supplementary and vertical. That comes up very often. So let's first take a look at these complementary angles. If you remember what complementary angles are, they are angles that add up to 90 degrees. So what that means is that together these two angles can create a right angle. So here's an example. So let's just say we have an angle that's about 10 degrees. And then right next to it, if you remember that word adjacent to it, I have an angle that's 80 degrees. If you notice, these two angles together made a right angle, because 10 plus 80 equals 90. Therefore, 10 and 80 are complements. They are complementary angles because they add up to 90. And a little helpful tip, the word complementary, if I look at the C-O, I can actually change the C into a 9, and it looks like the number 90. So that's how you could remember that complementary means angles that add up to 90 degrees. Then if I take a look here at the word supplementary, now some of you are kicking back and thinking, oh, well, if complementary adds up to 90, then supplementary are angles that add up to 180 degrees. And if you remember, 180 degrees is a straight angle. It looks like that straight line. So could you imagine you have an angle that looks like this, and we'll say that angle is, let's say 30 degrees. So there's my 30-degree angle, and then adjacent to it or right next to it is this angle, and let's say that's 150 degrees. These two angles are then supplementary because if you notice, they make a whole straight angle, and 30 plus 150 is 180. And then a little trick to remember supplementary angles is the S turns into an 8 to have the number 180. So that's a little trick for you to remember that there. So some of you are now remembering and you're like, oh, I remember those kinds of angles. So then you should be able to remember the word linear pair. It's actually the same thing as supplementary because they make a line. When you see this word linear, it's a line. So they're angles that form a line. We call those supplementary as well. And then looking at the last kind of angle I want to discuss with you today, it's called a vertical angle. So vertical angles, it says here, if we're going to explain or define them, are angles formed when two intersecting lines or where two intersecting lines meet. So those are what vertical angles look like. So I'm going to give you an example here. So imagine we have one line going this way, and then we have one line going this way. So if you look here, I now have 1, 2, 3, 4 angles. Now, all 4 of them are vertical angles, but they're not vertical angles to each other. What you need to focus on here are the ones opposite. So these two are vertical angles because they're on opposite sides of the intersecting lines. So let's make sure we note that. On opposite sides of the intersecting lines. So if one is on the top left, the other is on the bottom right. Another thing you really need to know is that vertical angles are congruent, or they're equal. So if I look here at these two vertical angles, if this is, 20 degrees, then that means this vertical angle is also 20 degrees. And then, lo and behold, if you really think about the rest of this, actually maybe I'll choose a different color. Look here, I have 180. So since I have 180 here, I can tell myself that this other angle right here, since this is a straight line and this is already 20, that means the remaining amount is 160. So that's this angle right here. Let me clarify. This angle right here is 160, and it's a vertical angle to this angle right here. So that means this is 160. Now if I added all of those up, you should notice that since it's a full circle here, it should add up to 360, in which it does. So really that's what I want you to know about these angles. I do have some practice problems that you can try. It's attached in the lesson here, so if you can look at the attachment first, because that's your empty copy, and then I already have the answers here at the rest of this video. So if you want to pause the video and try the practice problems and come back and check your work before you do the castle learning, that would be a great idea. So hopefully now you've finished the practice problems. I now have the answers for you, so I'm going to slowly scroll through them. So here are some answers for you. Recognize that these angles form 90-degree angles. And I know here it's fully 180 if you consider all of this. But if this side is 90, then this other side is also 90 to make a full 180. So that's why I did in short, b plus 31 equals 90. But if I wanted to do b plus 31 plus 90 makes a full 180, you would still get the answer of 59. And then here are some more examples. Here I have some supplementary angles right here, and supplementary and supplementary. And then here I have vertical, so they're equal to each other. And then here's some more examples that I did answers to. So pause whenever you need to. Check your answers. If you have any questions, feel free to message me on Schoology. Have a great day, everybody.